Welcome to a new Church Girl series in the adult education ministry of Grace United Methodist Church in Winfield, Kansas. This series is prompted by the recurring question that I've been asked for the past 5 years of doing this series. And the question is, you talk about it, Bruce, but what is agape love? My standard answer has been it's not erotic love, emotional connections between humans. It's not filial love that we love because of relationships such as brotherly or sibling love. Um, Agape love is rather a mental attitude of care for others, whether they be neighbors, friends, strangers, or enemies. And this care is dominated by the values of empathy and sacrifice as one lives for others, a mental attitude of living for others. Now, I found that this definition only opens the door to an exploration of agape love. And so in this series, I'm going to try to dig deeper into agape love, which is the heart of the life and teachings of Jesus. Now, the first 4 books in the Christian library, called the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John. And we all know the title of those books, The Gospel According to these followers of Jesus. Therefore, I've decided to take that the same designation will be helpful in exploring agape love. Let's take a look at Jesus' life and teachings to discover what Jesus taught, lived, and revealed about agape love. So this series is Agape Love According to Jesus. Now, it's really amazing to realize that a movement which began with a handful of followers of Jesus a couple thousand years ago is now based on a few hours of written documentation of his life and teachings. There's very little evidence to consider. However, this small amount of evidence has and continues to change the course of human history by changing the way human beings relate to each other. The heart of this evidence is, in my opinion, agape love. That's a new way to live with each other. Is there any other way, better way to discover the answer to the question, what is agape love, than digging deeper into the evidence we have, the life and teachings of Jesus? So here we go, identifying some characteristics of agape love. And this week we're going to begin with the first of these characteristics I want to explore with you, and that is kindness. Now, this characteristic seems so obvious, but let's pause for a moment before we take for granted that kindness prevails in the human community. Now, all we have to do is look at the cross to see that kindness, agape love, expressed through kindness, was the core of Jesus' life. You know, in the experience of his own death, he took time to say, "Mother, behold your son." And to his beloved disciple, he said, "Behold your mother." Now, what a portrait of kindness. In the experience of his own death, being certain that the one from whom you were born was committed to the care of another. That just, I think, is the lens through which we can see that Jesus' life was one of kindness. In our time, the evening news might best be headlined that today we had another day of family life in our society which is oblivious to kindness. One of the disturbing articles I've read recently was describing that the incidence of domestic violence is common in families who affirm the Christian faith. The litany of illustrations of cruelty and meanness that prevail over kindness. One of the best illustrations that I'm aware of how a social system prevents kindness is the social system that's built around the fact that many believe as fact that males are superior in nature to females. This ushers in a permission to control males over females in the home, in the workplace, and on the playground. You see, the right to control based on this value that many support and affirm that males are superior to females gives the right of control. And the right to control another is much more likely to usher in cruelty and meanness than kindness. That's just one illustration that kindness is over against some basic values in our life together. But on the other hand, there are stories of kindness as a characteristic of agape love. One of the greatest gifts a child can learn from a parent is the importance of kindness. We all observe that parents who practice kindness in the home learn how to be kind, likely from their own parents. A friend of mine preached a sermon on this theme, and the key thought in his sermon was that what children need more than anything else is the gift of growing up in a family in which the adults were kind to each other. You see, without kindness, there is no empathy. Without kindness, there is no sacrifice. Without kindness, there is no grace. The lifestyle of simply being kind opens the door to the journey of faith, the heart of which is agape love. To affirm agape love without the element of kindness is a portrait of hypocrisy. Let me say that again. To affirm agape love without the element of kindness is a portrait of hypocrisy. Not only from the cross did Jesus reveal kindness as a characteristic of agape love with his mother and his beloved disciple, he was kind to an enemy. Pilate was his name. He was kind to a stranger. Zacchaeus was his name. He was kind to a woman waiting to be stoned to death. She was a Samaritan. He was kind to his friends, even those who denied him. His name was Peter. Yeah, he was kind to his mother in his dying hours. Her name was Mary. You see, that's the life of kindness according to Jesus. Now, it's a rather high calling, I know, to be kind to a member of the opposing team or fan in a sports event. But it's our calling to fulfill. It's a high calling to be kind to a child who embarrasses and disappoints their family. That it's our calling to fulfill. It's a high calling to be kind to a neighbor who is judgmental and harsh. But it's our calling to fulfill. Yes, kindness is a learned behavior. It is a characteristic of agape love. Without kindness, agape love is impossible. With kindness, agape love is the way to follow Jesus. For your thought and conversation, what are your personal experiences or observation in the lives of others when the act of kindness transformed human relationships? Another question: with whom do you find it most difficult to be kind? Finally, what are the barriers which must be confronted and overcome for one to be kind? Thanks for going on this journey with us.